Buon pomeriggio a tutte e a tutti. Io sono Silvia Messina della redazione Lingue di Rizzoli Education e vi do il benvenuto a questa che è l'ultima della serie di incontri che abbiamo avuto insieme a Silvia Chini e a Cristina Prandi sul tema della agency revolution. Dunque, l'ultimo intervento di questa serie è a cura della nostra autrice Silvia Chini, che vi presento fra un secondo, e il tema è Young Adult Literature in the EFL Classroom. Dunque, prima di lasciare la parola a Silvia, 2 o 3 informazioni di ordine pratico. Avete 2 modalità per porre le vostre domande che io poi leggerò alla fine di questo incontro. Le potete scrivere nella chat oppure utilizzare l'app Tua Domanda che potrete raggiungere con lo smartphone semplicemente inquadrando il QR code e l'app Tua Domanda dovrete utilizzarla con il codice evento numero 54. L'attestato di partecipazione per questo incontro sarà disponibile nei prossimi giorni sul sito di Rizzoli Education alla pagina attestati. Coloro che vedranno l'evento in differita potranno ottenere l'attestato se si sono collegati entro la mezzanotte di oggi. L'evento è registrato, il video sarà disponibile sul nostro canale YouTube allo stesso indirizzo al quale lo state vedendo in questo momento. Vi invito come sempre, a tenervi informati circa la nostra programmazione iscrivendovi al nostro canale YouTube premendo appunto il tasto iscriviti. Dunque, io darei la parola a Silvia Chini. Buon pomeriggio Silvia. Ciao, grazie di essere qui con noi. Io ti lascio la parola e con i partecipanti, con piacere, ci vediamo alla fine di questo evento che durerà fino alle 17 qualche minuto. A più tardi, grazie.
Hi everybody, welcome back to this course, and today our last meeting is titled, as you can see, YA, Young Adult Literature in the EFL Classroom. We've spent hours speaking about agency, and we now know that it means empowering students to take ownership of their learning journey instead of simply receiving knowledge. Students with agency, we now know, are encouraged to set goals, to make decisions, learning decisions, I would say, and adapt as they grow. So what better opportunity than YA literature to let them free to explore and make decisions and set goals? Basically, in YA literature, they will meet protagonists who are more or less their same age. They feel the same emotions. They face the same challenges. So it's a great opportunity. So let's start with the first slide. Let's start from the beginning, I would say. What is young adult literature? Well, basically, it's fiction that deeply resonates with the unique, I would say, experiences faced by teenagers. It's written for or about young adults, about teenagers, but not only, as we will see in a second. There are many different names circulating, as you can see here. Literature for adolescents, adolescent fiction, junior teens, and whatever. But mainly, the core idea is always the same. These novels written in prose that is accessible to young students, young people, often explore themes of identity, self-discovery, the transition to adulthood, from childhood to adulthood, and so on. But there is something I'd like to highlight, as you can see here. The students we have in our classes change dramatically from year 1 to year 5. That's the reason why we can divide young adult literature into 2 groups. The first group, literature for teenagers from 12 to 15, and the second group for students, for people between 15 and 18 years of age. Of course, it's not a strict division, but in general, we could say that the first group is more about everyday life experiences, because teenagers between 12 and 15 well, they have started this period of their lives. They are excited to experience adolescence. They are interested in everyday life of teens. So the tiny, tiny things and the tiny, sometimes huge for them, decisions of this period. While when they turn 15, 16, the attitude generally changes. We can see that towards the end of the third year. They're growing up, okay? They're eager to leave adolescence. They really want to show us that they're mature in some way. And so does literature, basically. It focuses more on more mature themes, okay? Things that are more concerned with global problems or big challenges and whatever. But anyway, YA is a good starting point, in my opinion, for our student-centered teaching, as we've seen in the past webinars. A bit of history of this genre, because it's quite new, and however, it's a force to be reckoned with. Some research says that the roots of YA goes back to the 80s. Okay, well, some say that the roots of YA go back to when teenagers were giving their own distinction as a social group, that is to say, during the Second World War. Some people say that the first real YA novel is 17th Summer, published in 1942. However, the first huge success is widely considered the one you see here, The Outsiders, published in 1967. I'm sure you know the plot. That follows the 14-year-old protagonist into his everyday life, basically. The American protagonist is walking home from cinema, and he's attacked by a group of rivals, okay? Many things happen before the end of the book, but all is centered around topics such as class conflict, brotherhood, loss of innocence, teenage problems, and so on. In the 80s, critics were already looking for some titles to create a sort of a canon of YA literature, because that was a huge success, 1976, as you've just seen with The Outsiders. And a list of 17 titles was created. Among them, there was The Chocolate War, published in 1974. In this book, the protagonist refuses to sell chocolates in a school fundraiser, and therefore he's brutally bullied. But also, for example, this one, Are You There, God?, published in 1970, in which we read about a young girl in her new city, experiencing new challenges related to friendship, religion, new environment, and whatever. And these two books are in the list that was created in the 80s, the famous 17 books, as the beginning of a sort of a canon for YA literature. After another decade, so we're speaking about the 90s, okay, many essays noticed that YA literature was extremely popular within teenagers. And as you can see here, it was a trend, a growing trend, okay? Popularity has been steadily increasing. Today, it has become, I would say, overwhelmingly popular, not only among teenagers, but also among adult people, adults. And probably we know the reasons why. So if you read YA novels, young adult literature, books always start with a bang, with something huge, okay? With a cliffhanger, I would say. There are no long descriptions, the pace doesn't let up, every scene carries the story forward and the relationship among protagonists forward. So in every single page, something important happens. And the prose, the writing style, the prose immerses the reader so deeply in the perspective of the protagonist that they can really empathize with characters, okay? And this is something that also older readers appreciate. We all like books that have a lot of things to say and have no long descriptions, but there's always something going on. And so this is the reason why popularity has steadily increased, not only among teenagers. And nowadays, YA literature, as you can see here, covers a wide range of genres, from retellings or adaptations of classics, fantasy, science fiction, action, adventure, but also poetry, even if it's less common. After this first part, bit of history, as I told you, I'd like to hear something from you. So I'd like to stop for a minute and ask you whether you already use YA in class. So please use the chat that you have and share with us if you already use YA in class. If yes, please share the main title, the book, or the books, let's say 2 or 3 books that you use in class. And if not, I'd like to know the reason why you do not use YA in class. So please feel free to share whatever you want, whether if it's affirmative or not, whether you use YA in class or not, because I'm really interested in what you do in class, because as I always say, sharing is caring. So feel free to share what you do in class. Yes, I call it read. Oh, that's great. I use Benjamin Zefaniah's novels. I've used it once, Refugee Boy, and that was good. That's a good reading for pleasure project. Not at all, lack of time. Okay. John, oh, that's great. I use some of these novels too. Okay, lack of time, we will deal with this problem because you're right. Okay. With only 3 hours a week, lack of time. Okay, thank you. The Giver, Wonder, oh, Wonder, okay. And Refugee Boy, okay, thank you, great. Then I use, oh, that's great. I used it too in the past. Thank you for sharing. Some 2 degrees, oh, that's good. I know it. I've never used it in class, to be honest. Lack of time, okay. I see what you mean. Good, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Refugee, oh, that's good. We use it in our first years. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we'll wait for a couple of seconds for other answers, other replies. Okay. Another title I use is Trash. Oh, thank you for sharing. So even the other colleagues who have no idea, that you can just make some notes and check after this webinar. Dear Justice, okay, thank you. That's interesting. Oh, Paula, you use a lot of titles. I didn't use it. Thank you. Okay, good. So I'd like to show you how to integrate YA with grammar, vocabulary, a student-centered approach, this agency that we've been speaking about, because I completely agree with you. With only 3 hours a week, we can't do everything, okay? But that's a good way, in my opinion, to integrate the different parts that we have to cover using one single item, so a book, and giving our students the possibility to empathize, to mirror the experiences they challenge, the experiences they have every day, and to learn, I would say, something, okay? Our students, I was saying, face a time of changes in the 5 years of high school. So the first challenges at school, certificates, the year abroad if they want to go for the 4th year abroad, choosing university, first love affairs, troubles with friends, and so on. And these topics can easily be found in YA. So our students will for sure empathize with the characters. But there are more benefits, in my opinion, than the simple engagement or the possibility to mirror and to empathize with characters. Young adult books are windows to learn about others, okay, to learn about global problems, but also they're also mirrors to see themselves. And moreover, I'd say they're a great source of vocabulary and grammar structures, easy grammar structures, and much more. So in the second part of this webinar, I'd like to give you some ideas on how to work with YA in class, how to integrate YA with grammar, vocabulary, certificates, and whatever. And I will give you some titles that you could use in class. But of course, you can read and make notes and copy the titles given by the colleagues in the chat, because sharing is caring. So every single title is important. You may find your next favorite YA novel. So let's start with this one, which is part of the list of the sort of a canon created for YA. And I'd like to start with the idea of combining YA with vocabulary. So The House on Mango Street was published in 1984. It's one of the classics, as I said before, was written by the Mexican-American author. And it tells the story basically of a young girl called Esperanza growing up in the Hispanic area of Chicago. The main themes are, of course, cultural heritage, cultural identity, differences and similarities, adolescence, friendship. So topics that many students can relate to. This book is easy to read because it's divided into some different stories. So students have short stories that make the novel, so it's quite easy to read. Vocabulary is easy and grammar is also easy. So I'd say that we could use this book for the first 2 years, the first biennium of high school. Since language is really easy, this novel can be used to expand vocabulary related to, for example, home, apartment, neighborhood, city, or accommodation. So for example, student can read in small circles, okay, this is just an example, the part related to the description of the new house of the protagonist, okay, and they can decide how to represent Esperanza's house and compare it to their own or the traditional accommodation of their countries, okay. So you can use this book to expand vocabulary, to combine with vocabulary about, once again, home, accommodation, city, but also friendship. There are great passages on the description of the different characters, okay? So when you teach, for example, personality adjectives or physical descriptions, you can use parts of this novel to engage students, to expand vocabulary, and to make them work with what you've taught in class. So you can decide to let your students free to choose how to represent Esperanza's house or how to compare Esperanza's house with their own accommodation. Or you could choose to go with, this is a project that some of my colleagues did at the middle school, okay, but third year middle school, first year high school, it's great for both years, okay. They combine vocabulary, grammar, and YA. So students represented Esperanza's house and their own apartments. Then they were super enthusiastic and they asked the teacher to organize an art exhibition on the different types of accommodation around the world. The goal of the activity at the beginning was not the art exhibition, okay? But kids really wanted to show their works. They want the works of art. They wanted to describe houses in different countries or accommodation in different cultures. So they asked the teacher to organize an art exhibition. So they organized this art exhibition and they were asked to describe their works of art in order to use the vocabulary learned in class about the description of the house and whatever, to use some of the sentences, some of the phrases seen and read in the book, and to use also the grammar structures they had covered in the previous months with the teacher. It was a great success. So students, it was student driven, okay? Students were the ones who decided to change the ultimate goal of the project, but that was a good project. And we had the possibility to combine vocabulary, grammar, and YA. Another interesting novel is this. I really like this. Once again, for the first 2 years of high school, that's great. Absolutely easy. It's a bit longer than the first one. Absolutely easy, as I said before. It is The Map Maker's Race. So the book follows a family, basically, who enters the great map maker's race to find a possible way for a railway into the wilderness, okay, of the US. But the father is missing. Okay, I'm not spoiling too much. The mother is late for the start of the race. And so the 5 children, they have to start this race on their own. And of course, there will be bees, bats, river crossing, challenges, fears, problems to overcome. But all these things will help these kids grow. Okay, at the end of the novel, at the end of the race, they are real adolescents. Okay, they are not children anymore. They've learned so much. They've learned that they had the possibility to overcome some issues and problems, and they could think out of the box. Okay, and they're really proud of themselves, and also the mother. Once again, I'm not spoiling anything. So not only, you can imagine, the description, the setting descriptions can be paired with the usual vocabulary topics we cover in the first 2 years of high school. So basically landscapes, cities, once again, challenges, decision making. But this novel helps students mirror their own choices. The kids of this story, the protagonists, they face challenges that turn their weaknesses into strengths. So we can work with our students on this. This is also great for SEL sphere, let's say, or for the so-called Agenda 2030, the goals 2030. So reflecting on their own strengths and weaknesses, how to turn their weaknesses into strength. So this novel is great. It's easy and it's easily it could be easily used, let's say, to be with a lot of topics we cover in class. Vocabulary, there are so many things you could do with this novel. And also grammar, I would say, because it's super easy. So you will find present simple, past simple, and present perfect. That's it. So it's great for the first 2 years of high school. As an example, for this novel, I asked one of my second year classes to create an accordion book, like the accordion, the musical instrument. It was an end of the year activity because we read this novel in class during the second part of the year. That this was the end of the year activity. Starting from some chapters of the book, okay, focusing on some chapters of the book, they had to write the best things that happened to the protagonists and to themselves, okay, in different situations. In the classroom, outside, out of the classroom, on holiday, something they had to challenge to face out of the blue, a sticky situation, a difficult situation that turned out to be something important for their lives. They had to focus on some of the mistakes made by the kids in the book and some of the mistakes made by them during the year. And the way they learned from these mistakes, okay? I asked my students to write about, in particular, about one mistake they made and the lesson they learned. It's a good way, once again, to revise past simple as well. Past simple, present perfect, present simple, present continuous, and so on. So, sorry. We basically tried to match the novel with everyday life, real life. So we had to learn something from the protagonists. So how do they overcome the problems they have? How do they face the challenges they have? How can we face the challenges we have every day? So it was a good project. This one is is one of my favorites. It tells the story of Native Americans, Okay, this I would say for second year, third year of high school. It tells the story of Native Americans, as I was saying, especially Navajos, and the way they served during the Second World War in the Pacific Ocean to send coded messages. It's a great story because the protagonist at the beginning of the story is a child, basically. He goes to school. And at the end of the story, at the end of the Second World War, not only he is an adolescent, but with a lot of experiences, unfortunately, even negative experiences. And so he's really mature. Okay, he has grown up. The main themes are basically multiculturalism, okay, and the way indigenous people, natives, were treated, okay, before the beginning of the war, the Second World War, of course, because they served during the Second World War in the Pacific Ocean. Resilience, for sure, indifference, okay, and teenagers facing a harsh period, a difficult period, serious period of their lives, okay. And this is great. Once again, grammar is super easy, vocabulary is super easy. The topic is a bit more, dense. Okay, so you have the possibility to speak about teenagers in difficult situations, okay, experiencing real challenges. This is a war. It's not just an invented map-making race or moving from one town to the other, from one city to the other. This is the Second World War. So this gives you the possibility to speak about history as well, but with super easy words, super easy structures. So it's absolutely accessible even to lower level students. And moreover, in this case, not just in this case, but for every single book I'm presenting today, we have the possibility to use AI. So let's briefly go online. I hope you can see my screen. And I think you all know Magic School AI. Magic School AI is basically an AI platform created for teachers. Okay, there's also part for students, but it's mainly created for teachers. It's free, so you can register. And once you log in, you have many possibilities, really endless possibilities, okay, to create projects or to create pictures, for example. This is great for FCE preparation, so when you have to describe pictures, or to create exercises, lesson plans. You have a lot of different things. We don't have time today to speak about them all, so I'd like to concentrate on two that could be used with YA literature in class. So if you want to expand vocabulary while reading, some of the books I've presented, you could use, for example, a worksheet generator, okay? And you can ask Magic School AI to create a vocabulary worksheet. So, for example, here you choose a grade. You copy and paste a text. In this case, I generally copy and paste the text passages taken from the novels, okay? And you can ask to generate vocabulary exercises, okay? You can ask AI, Magic School AI, to focus exactly on the words you want them to practice, okay? So, for example, the words you've explained during your grammar lessons or language lessons, okay? You can ask AI to focus on that particular words. The second one I'd like to show you is this one, text-dependent questions. If you want to stop every now and then and to check comprehension or to focus on some specific aspects, once again, you can ask Magic School AI to create text-dependent questions. So you choose the grade, once again, you choose the number of questions, of course, and you can type here the type of questions you want. If you want comprehension, literary devices, a mix of both, something related to the themes, topics, imagery, and whatever you want. And here you copy and paste the text once again, or you can also add a file, as you can see. You copy and paste the text of the novel, and you generate the questions. Once you've generated questions, you can work with your students. Of course, you have many other possibilities. Once again, as I said, we don't have time to go through them all, but if you spend some time on this homepage, you will for sure discover something that could be super interesting for your lessons. So for example, you can generate also songs related to the topics or to the vocabulary of your YA literature. You can generate rubrics to evaluate projects, and you also you can generate review games, Jeopardy in this case, okay? Once again, once you've finished, once you've covered some chapters, or once you've covered some topics that you wanted to practice, you can generate some review games, okay? Let's go back to our presentation so that we can move on. As I told you, YA can be used with higher level students as well, and not only for vocabulary. YA can be used for a lot of different things in class. For higher levels, for example, YA could be used for debates, not proper debates, because your students are not used to have proper debates. Don't worry, you can use YA for short conversations, okay, or short debates among them, or circle time among them. Sorry. This one, Cardboard Cowboys, is a great example. It speaks about a 12-year-old boy, Lenny, who is bullied at school and who becomes friend of a homeless man who will change his life. This book is great for activities such as the so-called stop and go. So after reading in circles or as a whole class or in small groups, you decide you can stop at the end of the most relevant chapters and ask your students what they would do in that situation and why. Since the book covers topics such as bullying, friendship, choices, going against parents' advice, students will likely find some of the situations they experience every day. So that's a good way to practice, for example, conditionals as well. So once again, combining grammar and YA. But the story, the plot is great. I really recommend this book. Once again, you could speak through YA about huge topics. So for example, here, this is the First World War. In this particular case, when the guns fall silent, this book is about the Christmas truce, okay? But it's really super, super easy, accessible for first and second year students. So this gives you the possibility to speak about huge topics, okay? The First World War, Christmas truce, the soldiers, the trenches, whatever, even with lower level students. This is B1, A2, B1. So even if you have lower levels in the last years of high school, you could use this as a bridge, let's say, between literature and language. Because once again, you have easy sentences, basically just present simple and past simple, because that's really super easy vocabulary. And you can use this both for debating, short conversations, but also to speak about history with lower level students. The same is for this one. A huge topic, Twin Towers and the terrorist attacks in New York. But this text is really easy. It's called 11, as you can see. And the protagonist, Alex, is a guy that is a boy that turns 11 on 9/11. So the book starts with Alex going to school with his cupcakes. He's super happy because it's his birthday. And unfortunately, something happens. They really do not understand at the beginning because nobody tells them anything. They're sent home. And all of a sudden, his dream has always been the one to become a hero, to be a hero, okay, the hero of his life. And all of a sudden, he finds himself in the position of becoming the hero of his family, because the mother is a nurse, so she's busy at the hospital, and the father is a train driver who drives the underground to the Twin Towers. So for some days, okay, he's on his own at home with his friends in the neighborhood, and he has to become the hero of his own life. That's great. My students loved it. Not only because it gives the possibility to speak about something, an event that they perfectly know, okay, but because this normal boy, okay, has the possibility to become the hero of his life, okay, to drive. He's the driving force of his life all of a sudden, and he has to face challenges that seem super banal, but they're not, okay, and he grows up. If you're not familiar with debating techniques, you can check LitHUB Box by Rizzoli Education online. LitHUB Box is a website where we collect, okay, material, ready to use lessons, novels, book talks, and other things. I work at the LitHUB Box with my colleague and friend Cristina Prandi, and you have there a lot of interesting ideas, and you will find there some guidelines to organize debates from zero, basically from the foundations, okay, how to start, to the most complicated ones, okay. So you have great advice here you can follow to organize debates in your classrooms. As I said before, since we have no time, so 3 hours a week, okay, and in 3 hours a week we have everything, so certificates, grammar, vocabulary, literature, everything. This is another great way to combine grammar, history in this case, and YA. This is a really easy book, B1 level, once again, B1.1, okay? It's about the Second World War, and it's about a specific page of the Second World War. The story is about some children who are evacuees, okay? They evacuated to the Isle of Wight during the Second World War. So one child and a teenage girl, okay, together, they have to face this huge challenge, okay, in their lives, and they are sent away from home. They are taken from home and sent away with basically nothing but a gas mask and some clothes, okay, and they had to live in this unknown place, okay, during the Second World War. And moreover, they have to face the usual challenges of children growing up. So students will empathize with the readers, and moreover, they will have the possibility to expand the grammar, since once again that's super easy. You will just find present past and present perfect, okay, nothing else. Your students will have the possibility to practice if you choose to create worksheets with Magic School AI or Gemini or whatever you want, to practice the grammar you teach in real context, so reading a real book. This one is even easier because this is a graphic novel, and it's basically only present simple, okay? So you can use this with lower level students or students with special needs, because since it's a graphic novel, it's a good way to give students with special needs the possibility to approach YA. They called us Enemy one. Moreover, that's free on Kindle. There's a free with the unlimited subscription, and it's the story about Japanese people in the United States during the Second World War. Since they were considered spies, okay, they were brought to special camps because they were considered enemies, okay, and the graphic novel shows the story of this child, okay, growing up in these difficult years. Once again, as you can see in the graphic novel, okay, the part with drawings and whatever, the graphic novel, and the grammar basically structures are always present simple and present continuous, okay. We have some written parts, but they are super short, with also past simple and present perfect. So if you have students with special needs, you can skip those parts and you can stick to the graphic novel. So that's a good way to combine YA for students with special needs and grammar once again. Last but not least, since we have 20 minutes, 15, because I'd like to hear your questions if you have some questions at the end. So last but not least, I would like to speak about a method that I particularly love, the writing and reading workshop. As you know, this is one of the most popular approaches to teaching and learning reading and writing in the US. It was born in the US in the 70s, and it is also widespread in Italy. For the first time this year, we also have writing and reading workshop in Italian lessons. So it's widespread in Italy. This webinar is not about this method, so I'm not spending much time on the theory behind it, but I'd like to tell you that writing and reading workshop, this way of experiencing English in a flexible framework and a workshop perspective, is a great opportunity to promote agency. We've been speaking about agency, okay, for months now, okay, and this is a great opportunity to promote agency and also student-centered teaching. I've chosen the two books you see here because they speak about passions, and I think that our students are full of passions, okay, sports, hobbies, but passions in general. And when we speak about passions, they're always engaged. These two books speaks about passion, commitment, overcoming difficulties to follow a dream. So basically what our students deal with every single day. And therefore, I consider them perfect to mirror our students' experiences. The first one, American Fly Girl, tells the story of the first American woman to earn a pilot's license during the Second World War. So Second World War, a woman earning a pilot's license, so huge topics. The second one, you probably know it, and it's not really YA, to be honest. There's also a YA adaptation, okay? It tells the story of Jesse Owens, okay, the famous athlete, and the Olympics, Summer Olympics in Berlin, 1936. These two books give the possibility not only to read, as I said before, about passions and overcoming difficulties and speaking about dreams and overcoming difficulties, as I said before. But it gives also the students the possibility to mirror their own experiences. So if you follow the writing and reading workshop, you perfectly know what I'm speaking about. So you perfectly know how it works. If you do not follow the writing and reading workshop, there's a webinar online that teaches you how to follow this framework. But you can also organize some mini lessons, okay, around the chapters you find interesting, or the books that you want to deal with. And in this case, the mini lesson I'm just showing you is a mini lesson on passions. After reading the first 2 or 3 chapters of American Fly Girl, or the first 2 or 3 chapters, 3, 4, of Triumph, or the story of Jesse Owens, you can ask your students to concentrate on their passions. And you can ask them to write, as you can see here, independent writing. It's a time in which the teacher supports writers, okay, but they basically write whatever they want. There's no structure. We're not saying it's an essay, it's a letter. No, they write whatever you want, but they write about their own passions. And if you had taught previously the vocabulary and the grammar needed to speak about their passions, in this case, okay, they will use it. Okay, they will use both the words and the grammar. The teacher, of course, supports students while writing. And at the end of this mini lesson, so I would say 45 minutes, okay, they will be asked to share. Their stories. In this way, they will share a bit of their own lives, okay. They will share something that is important to them. They will also listen to their classmates. So this is a good way to reflect, to think about their own lives and to compare it with the lives of somebody else. In this case, the first pilot in the American Army, the woman, and Jesse Owens. If you do not want them to write, okay, you can use Padlet, okay, or you can use some working walls, as you can see here in the slide. Working walls are basically huge posters that you hang on the wall, and students work with these walls. So they can put something on, they can take something from the wall to work. In this case, you can ask them to put their works on the working wall, And you can organize an activity, the lesson after, for example, a gallery walk in which they walk, they go to the wall and they try and read some of their classmates' writings, and they will identify some of the key elements you will ask them to identify. So it's a great way to share, to let them share their abilities, their passions in this case, but also the challenges they face, which is super important to make them engaged. Once again, YA literature is great to explore themes, explore topics that we generally do not cover in class. Refugee boy, I'm not saying anything about that because one of the colleagues here has mentioned refugee boy, so you probably know it. The other one, Ask Me No Questions. It's a bit old, but it's great. It's easy. And it speaks about a family coming from Bangladesh to the United States, going from Bangladesh to the United States before 9/11. And the book tells the story of this family and how the situation changes for them. The everyday life basically changes for them after the terrorist attack of 9/11, because they're considered terrorists and because visa expired and they have a lot of troubles. But in the meantime, the two daughters, they go to school, one goes to university. So once again, they face everyday challenges. Since we've spoken about the Second World War, I'd like to show you the first one, Science of Survival. It's great. It's super short, 100 pages, so you can read it within 3 or 4 hours, okay, 5, let's say. In class, it's super easy, and it speaks about two sisters, okay, and one signs because the other can't hear, is deaf, and they have to survive during the Second World War in this way. The second one, this is Ausländer, but you can choose whatever you want from written by this author because it's great, and it takes into consideration huge historical topics, history, making it accessible for young readers. Last but not least, we could use YA to explore global themes, okay? The two books here, they both speak about friendship, resilience, and challenges. The first one is set in Chernobyl. We've just spoken about the anniversary some days ago. These two girls, they live in Chernobyl in 1986, and after what happens, they are not friends at all, okay? They're enemies, we could say, but they are forced to escape together. So they have to face both the environmental challenges, okay, and the everyday challenges of adolescents who are forced to be together, even if they hate each other. The second one, Up From the Sea, is a completely different novel. Your students will love it. It's a novel in verse, absolutely easy, and it speaks about the tsunami that hit Japan some years ago. And the protagonist is this boy who lives in this village. Everything is destroyed, but he will find a way to help his community and to start a new life. I'd say that all these titles can be easily integrated into our lessons because it's easy to integrate grammar, vocabulary, and YA, especially if you choose the easiest ones. Okay, for example, Up From the Sea, or the one about the Christmas truce, or for example, the first one, The House on Mango Street. You can easily integrate and combine the curricula we have, so teaching vocabulary, certain aspects of everyday life, conversations, and whatever, with YA. And it's a different way to engage students. And as you saw, some minutes ago, it could be a good opportunity to let them free to choose. For example, with the House on Mango Street, the art exhibition, to let them free to choose how to engage, empathize with the novel, and how to combine grammar, vocabulary, and YA literature. So I'd say that YA is a great source of engaging material, I would say. Last but not least, I'm not spending too much time on this because we've covered this for many minutes in one of our last meetings. One project that is always a success is the Human Library Project. So you ask classmates to become their own books, the book they've read. So you ask them to prepare a box with 5 objects that represents parts or characters of the story. Each object needs a paragraph in which they describe the reason why they've chosen that particular object. You can ask them to draw a visual summary and to create a playlist of songs, okay, on Spotify that could represent the story. It's a different way to revise, to review, and to let them engage with the books and the novels you give them. I hope that was useful, and I'm ready to listen to your questions.
Grazie Silvia, ma che bell'intervento. Io sono affascinata da quanti usi si possano fare in classe con le tue idee, che sono veramente molto molto stimolanti. Allora, intanto ti faccio forse la domanda più così, un po' più pratica che i docenti ci stanno ponendo, che è proprio quella che hai già tu stessa e che qualcuno di loro ha già scritto in chat all'inizio. L'hai già un parte detto, ma magari ci puoi dare qualche dettaglio più pratico, qualche idea, qualche soluzione proprio operativa. Cioè sostanzialmente come coniugare le letture dei romanzi con letterature. Parzialmente l'hai detto, quello che riguarda la grammatica e così via. Dacci qualche altro spunto pratico. Grazie.
Allora, sicuramente il problema del tempo ce l'abbiamo tutti. Io ho 3 ore alla settimana, come la maggior parte dei colleghi, suppongo qui, quindi sicuramente non è sempre possibile. L'escamotage, cioè quello che abbiamo cercato di fare anche con i miei colleghi a scuola così, è proprio combinare le cose. Quindi nel biennio, quando si affrontano appunto argomenti come descrivere la casa, le abitudini quotidiane, eccetera, scegliamo qualcosa, qualche romanzo che descriva molto bene o che parli molto bene di questo, così da poter utilizzare 1 ora alla settimana, non sempre, ok, in classe per la lettura e l'approfondimento. Noi lavoriamo molto con il metodo Writing and Reading Workshop, però non è obbligatorio, cioè si può assolutamente fare in altro modo, si può dividerli a piccoli gruppi e leggono in maniera silenziosa, piuttosto che si può leggere qualche pezzo tutti insieme, piuttosto che poi ognuno sa la classe che ha davanti, quindi quello che funziona con qualche classe magari non funziona, non funziona con altri. Oppure per le classi più alte, mi viene in mente dalla terza, dove di fatto si comincia a fare letteratura, una cosa che funziona abbastanza bene è cercare di matchare il canone classico della letteratura con la letteratura contemporanea, che sia YA o anche non YA, perché magari abbiamo delle classi dove si può spingere un po' di più. Vi faccio un esempio, ma solo perché è l'ultimo che ho fatto in ordine di tempo, l'ho fatto stamattina, quindi ce l'ho ben fresco nella memoria, facendo Joyce con le quinte, quindi parlando di Evelyn, leggendo Evelyn e facendo l'analisi come si fa sempre, abbiamo deciso di accoppiare Evelyn a Brooklyn, al romanzo che è appena uscito, è uscito nel 2009, che di fatto ricalca la storia di Evelyn, ma alla fine questa Alice di Brooklyn decide di partire, mentre Evelyn non parte. E quindi vedere come ci sono reazioni diverse a problematiche simili, che è un po' quello che ci dicevamo anche con i libri che abbiamo visto adesso. Allora, io personalmente, ma non dico che sia la cosa giusta da fare, poi ognuno trova le sue metodologie, diciamo i suoi approcci. Quando chiedo loro di leggere un libro, soprattutto le classi alte, mai al biennio, in autonomia gli do un paio di mesi, ok? Magari do una lista, chiedo loro di scegliere. Già tempo fa era capitato, avevo condiviso delle liste così. Chiedo loro di scegliere perché secondo me, se sono interessati alla lettura e se la scelgono da soli e se non è imposta, sicuramente c'è un pochino più di possibilità che davvero leggano la cosa e siano un po' più invogliati. Mentre per le classi basse, 1 ora alla settimana, con alcune classi si può fare tutte le settimane, ok, 2 ore di lingua e 1 ora di writing and reading workshop, piuttosto che cultural studies, chiamiamolo come vogliamo, comunque dove combiniamo un qualcosa, ad esempio la lettura del romanzo con le cose che abbiamo fatto in classe, oppure ad esempio anche la preparazione delle certificazioni. Leggiamo un libro e impariamo a scrivere un book review che poi ci serve per il first, piuttosto che ci sono dei romanzi che noi utilizziamo che sono composti dove ci sono magari delle lettere, quindi vedo la lettera e imparo a scrivere la lettera all'email per prepararci al first. Quindi cercando di combinare le due cose, perché chiaramente il tempo è quello che è e non si può fare tutto, ecco.
Certo, certo, molto chiaro, grazie. Ci sono altre domande ovviamente. Intanto una professoressa ti dice grande idea quella di fare il paragone fra Evelyn e Brooklyn, effettivamente stimolante anche per i ragazzi, anche perché avvicina, immagino, lo studio della letteratura più classica a quello che è, diciamo,
Sì, anche perché loro, soprattutto in quinta, sono già proiettati verso un'idea di futuro, quindi loro su questo sono molto sul pezzo, cioè cosa faccio? Vado all'estero a studiare, resto qui? Qualcuno magari di loro ha dovuto decidere se fare l'anno all'estero oppure no, quindi che cosa cioè, cosa ho provato in quel momento quando sono partito, ho lasciato tutto, quindi ci sono veramente tanti spunti per agganciarsi, anche, non lo so, mi viene in mente The House on Mango Street, anche con i ragazzi più piccoli, quindi di prima e seconda, tantissimi di loro hanno dovuto cambiare città, magari arrivano qui da altri posti, piuttosto che erano in un'altra città e si sono trasferiti dove sono adesso, quindi molto spesso capita che abbiano da dire, e se hanno da dire qualcosa di loro sono anche più propensi a usare tutte quelle cose che noi gli insegniamo per comunicare qualcosa che per loro è importante, ecco. È per quello che poi parlavo anche delle passioni, Triumph piuttosto che gli ultimi due libri, perché quando si va a parlare di passioni loro c'hanno sempre un sacco di cose da dire, perché c'è sempre quello che voleva fare uno sport ma poi i genitori gli hanno fatto fare un altro sport, quello che ha iniziato il suo sport e adesso è diventato bravo ma deve affrontare delle sfide perché gli allenamenti sono tanti, sono difficili, bisogna stare al passo con la scuola, quindi hanno davvero tanto da dire e più loro si sentono toccati sul personale, più interagiscono, quindi più usano l'inglese e più migliorano. Ecco, è tutto un
certo, molto bello, davvero. Dunque, fammi controllare se ci sono altre domande. Sì, allora in parte ce lo possiamo immaginare perché hai parlato di alcuni romanzi che comunque toccano tematiche storiche anche recenti, ma forse ci sono anche altre indicazioni in questo senso, cioè qualcuno ti chiede, visto che la maggioranza delle volte hai parlato di principianti o comunque di ragazzi più giovani, 15-16 anni, così, invece ti chiedono, ma per il triennio dei libri che hai consigliato o anche altri, quale consiglieresti?
Allora, ce ne sono diversi. Per il triennio li ho considerati un pochino meno qua perché si comincia a poter approcciare, ad esempio Brooklyn, la letteratura contemporanea per adulti. Quindi ci sono dei testi scritti per adulti e come si dice, che sono però molto accessibili perché magari la scrittura, il writing style è proprio molto accessibile e quindi si riesce a spingere un po' di più. Sicuramente ci sono testi assolutamente di YA che vanno bene anche per il triennio. Ce ne sono alcuni, se voi andate su LitHUB Box, c'è una cartella apposta dove ogni mese mettiamo 4 titoli e tendenzialmente dei 4 almeno 2 sono di YA. Per ogni titolo, ogni mese trovate un PDF su sfondo azzurro, un po' come queste slide, con il titolo del romanzo, la copertina, il livello, e ce ne sono diversi di livello B2, B2+, C1 anche, un brevissimo riassunto, i temi affrontati e a volte anche degli spunti proprio per lavorare in classe. Quindi io vi consiglio di andare sulla pagina LitHUB Box, scegliere proprio la cartella, vedrete ci sono vari folder, ce ne sono alcuni anche molto interessanti che non riguardano la letteratura, per esempio quello noi abbiamo brevissimamente visto Magic School AI, sul LitHUB Box c'è proprio tutta una cartella della collega Cristina Prandi che vi racconta come veramente, e anzi vi dà degli esempi già strutturati che potete usare in classe, come utilizzare l'intelligenza artificiale al servizio delle nostre lezioni. Quindi se scegliete la cartella di letteratura avrete veramente tantissimi titoli da poter utilizzare e sono divisi per livelli, quindi basta scegliere il livello della propria classe.
Bene, direi sì, effettivamente molto utile, certo. A proposito di Magic School, qualcuno dice che vorrebbe, diciamo, qualche indicazione in più, però hai detto provate, andate a cercare, che cos'altro puoi dire in merito a questo?
Sì, è totalmente gratuito, quindi voi vi registrate, dite che siete insegnanti, vi si apre quella pagina che avete
Qualcuno
visto e
si è registrato mentre parlavi. Ce l'ha detto.
c'è veramente di tutto, cioè si può generare qualsiasi cosa, si possono eventualmente generare anche verifiche o cose così, anche dibattiti. È proprio specificamente pensato per gli insegnanti, quindi in alcuni casi è davvero un aiuto. Anche c'è questa cosa che funziona molto bene, molto più di Gemini o ChatGPT, eccetera, eccetera. Si possono trasformare degli articoli di giornale in livelli più semplici. Quindi io voglio leggere in classe un articolo del New York Times, lo metto lì dentro e lo faccio trasformare in livello B1. E quindi è molto attendibile, ecco, e quindi si può fare anche questo. Quindi volendo si può fare anche per dei testi di letteratura, ecco, però è molto intuitivo, è molto semplice da usare, non serve pagare niente, quindi funziona, ecco. Ma
Assolutamente
vedo che
una
qualcuno
grande...
uno strumento eccezionale, quindi funziona.
Certo, certo. Allora abbiamo un'altra... Sì, qualcuno dice, in effetti, qualcuno evidentemente l'ha già provato e quindi ci conferma che è uno strumento eccezionale, fa venire molta voglia di utilizzarlo. Una professoressa ci scrive che lei insegna nella scuola secondaria di primo grado e usa graded readings che si possono prestare trasversalmente, per esempio Jane Eyre, Moby Dick, alcune biografie di personaggi noti come John Lennon, Hawking e così. Forse anche questo è un modo per, diciamo, attivare
Sicuramente
l'engagement
sì,
degli studenti.
io ma questo l'ho già detto nello scorso incontro, è proprio
Esatto.
inclinazione mia personale, prediligo i testi, diciamo, anche YA, però non graded, ecco. C'è talmente tanta varietà, è vero, noi dobbiamo leggerne tanti per scegliere, perché magari di 5 che ne leggiamo, poi ce ne va bene uno. Però c'è talmente tanta varietà e tanta bellezza senza bruciarsi, non voglio essere, però senza bruciarsi quei grandi classici che poi arrivano dopo e magari i ragazzi hanno già letto e quindi non sono più interessati a leggere, però è assolutamente un mio pensiero personale, credo anzi che in alcune situazioni funzionino benissimo anche i graded readers.
Certo, però forse appunto anche questo
Certo.
contenitore di LitHUB Box di cui parlavi prima può aiutare
Sì.
in questa scelta insomma, di valutazione di tutti questi, di tutta questa offerta che effettivamente è molto, molto interessante e anche appunto importante questo, quello che dicevi, che è molto approcciabile anche dal punto di vista linguistico, quindi non mette in difficoltà. Ci sono una valanga di ringraziamenti che
Grazie a voi.
ti passo. Ultima cosa, sono, diciamo, questa domanda, poiché ti rifai spesso ad approcci americani per l'insegnamento della lettura, hai dei siti che ci suggeriresti oppure appunto dici dove andare a recuperarli fra i materiali che hai già messo a
Allora, sicuramente
disposizione?
il VRV è questo grandissimo contenitore, secondo me è perfetto per insegnare tante cose. Basta digitare VRV su qualsiasi motore di ricerca e viene fuori qualsiasi cosa. Sempre nell'ITA Box c'è proprio una pagina dedicata anche alla metodologia, dove trovate il dibattito, quello che ho detto mentre scorrevamo le slide. Sempre in quel posto lì trovate delle indicazioni proprio sulle metodologie varie, variegate che ci sono, ecco, in giro in questo momento.
Certo, certo. Molto bello. Complimenti, davvero. Ti ringraziamo tutti e io ringrazio tutti i presenti per essere stati con noi fino adesso. È stato veramente molto stimolante. Vi auguriamo tutto il meglio per il vostro insegnamento. Grazie, grazie Silvia, davvero. Grazie a
Grazie a
tutti.
voi.
Grazie anche per tutta questa serie di incontri che hai insieme a Cristina Prandi condotto in maniera così stimolante. Grazie, grazie a tutti.
Grazie a voi, buon pomeriggio.
Grazie davvero, grazie.